One of the conundrums of being in private practice is deciding whether or not you're going to be on insurance panels. And if you do land on that, one of the other things you're going to need to do is worry about medical billing and credentialing and all that goes with being able to accept insurance. And there is a solution to that, and that solution is Practice Solutions. They are who I use in my practice, and so I just very much depend on them to help me with all those moving parts around insurance. So go check them out today. If you'll go over to PracticeSol, that's just practicesol.com/Gordon, look at what they have to offer. They will really help you make your insurance billing and your private practice on the insurance side much easier to navigate. PracticeSol.com/Gordon. This is the Practice of Therapy podcast with Gordon Brewer, helping you to navigate your private practice journey. This is session number 70 of the Practice of Therapy podcast. Hello, folks. I'm Gordon Brewer, and welcome to the podcast. Can you believe that it is March already and that I'm at episode number 70 already? That is just unbelievable for me. Well, welcome, folks. I'm glad you're here and glad you're joining me for this episode. I've got a wonderful guest today, Lisa Wozniak, and I'm going to introduce you to her here just a little bit. But wow, it's February was a whirlwind for me. I don't know about you, but just had a lot going on. And just for those of you out there that have been following me, you know that I've been working on this Money Matters course, and it's still in the pre-launch phase, so you can still get it at half price. So if you'll go over to practiceoftherapy.com/finance course, you can still get that for half price. And if you'll use the coupon code TAKE50, that'll ensure that you get it at half price. It's not going to be at that price much longer, so head on over there to check that out. And for those of you that might not know, I've talked about this in previous episodes, but the Money Matters course will really walk you through the whole financial side of private practice. Just help you kind of learn the basics around what you need to do to from accounting to bookkeeping to taxes to knowing what to charge for sessions. All of those things I'm including in the course, and I'm so excited to be able to get this out there to folks. And during the pre-launch, I'm just getting the finishing touches on it. It's taken me a little longer than I anticipated, and mainly because I've had some family issues come up with my parents. Just going through that aging process and having to drop everything and go over and attend to them. But anyway, we're working through it as a family. And so life happens. And, I know all of you out there know that is true. We just, there's lots of things that we can anticipate and other things we don't anticipate. And you just have to set our priorities. So taking care of my mom and dad has been my priority over this last few weeks. And, as my dad says all the time, getting old isn't for sissies. So my dad is 86 and my mom is 84. And so here we go. So anyway, I digress on that. But anyway, do take a look at the Money Matters course. I think you're going to really enjoy getting into that, and I think it's going to be of value to you. Other things I've got coming up, I started today. It's not really coming up, but one of the things that I was so excited to get going today is the Getting Started Mastermind group that I formed got started today. We had our first meeting, and what I'm going to do is we've got just a few folks in there, and I have a few slots left But if you will email me at gordon@practiceoftherapy.com, you can we can have a conversation about whether or not that is going to be something you want to be involved in. I don't want to get too far along and then have people join in the middle of it. But one of the things I will say is that every time I have been involved in a mastermind group, it has just absolutely increased the growth of my practice, not only volume-wise, but monetarily, exponentially. I know I have told you all about the mastermind groups I've been in with Woz Marketing, and he's been a great mentor to me. But anyway, started the mastermind group, the Getting Started Mastermind Group. Got just a few slots left. If you're interested, like I said, email me. And this mastermind group is specifically for those folks who are just getting started in private practice, and particularly those folks that might be starting this year or making some transitions this year. I think it would be a great group for you. And I would like to invite you to jump in on that while it's still available. I'm going to close the group here in the next week or two. So, but depending on when you're hearing this, it might be, if you're hearing this much later on, it won't be relevant. But anyway, you can email me about that if you're curious about that. The other thing I want to just tell folks about is I mentioned Woz Marketing, but he's got Killing It Camp that is now open for early bird registration. My tongue is tied. Early bird registration for Killing It Camp. And this is going to be just a huge conference, chance to get together with other people in private practice out in Estes Park, Colorado. And that's going to be in October. And I'm going to be there. I'm one of the speakers for the conference. And it's going to be held at the YMCA of the Rockies. And if you'll go over to just killingitcamp.com, you can get information about that and register to come. I think it's going to be a fun event. And I know just getting around like-minded people and people with the same kind of goals in mind, it just is so much fun. And I learned so much from, I'm so excited about the people that are going to be there too. Just several of the people that have been here on the podcast, just name drop a little bit. I've got Katie Englert, Amanda Patterson, Allison Pigeon. Who am I leaving out there? Oh, Cecilia Brasino. Those are just a few that have been here on the podcast already. Kelly Higdon, I'm sure, will show up there. She always does. And so check it out, killingitcamp.com. Love to see you there in October. So, that was a lot. So today, my guest is Lisa Wozniak, and Lisa and I connected online. Again, she reached out to me, or I reached out to her. I'm not sure exactly how that happened, but Lisa is a marketing expert, and she comes to this field out of a corporate background and marketing background. She's had over 25 years experience with marketing, but she came to this niche out of a heart for therapists and really wanting to help therapists learn how to market their practices more effectively. And she has a lot to teach us. But Lisa's got a YouTube channel that I'd highly recommend to you. Her marketing company is called Woz Marketing. And so without further ado, here is Lisa Wozniak. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome again to the Practice of Therapy podcast. And I'm so happy and thrilled to have with me Lisa Wozniak. And Lisa and I have just recently really kind of gotten to know each other. I was thrilled that she asked me to be on her YouTube channel, and I'm going to get Lisa to tell some more about that here in a minute. But Lisa is a marketing consultant and owner of Woz Marketing, WOZ, and which is a marketing company dedicated to helping private practice owners enroll more clients through online marketing strategies. And Lisa is driven by her passion to help practitioners overcome varying marketing challenges in private practice. Lisa has been in the marketing arena for 25 years, and having worked with several big business clients in the corporate setting, she has realigned her niche to focus on private practice owners and helping them develop and implement creative marketing strategies designed to grow their client base. So welcome, Lisa.
Thank you so much for having me, Gordon, my new BFF.
Yes. We've been doing some collaborating and just sharing podcast and YouTube guests and all of that sort of thing. And it's been a lot of fun.
It's been a lot of fun. And I got to tell you, I'm a big fan, Gordon.
Oh, well, thanks. Same for me. I'm enjoying your YouTube channel and all that you're doing and just getting to know you better. So, yeah. So Lisa, tell folks, maybe, is there anything else that maybe you want to tell folks about yourself? In particular, kind of the big question that I ask folks is kind of tell us a little bit about your kind of practice journey and how you've landed where you've landed and how you've got into doing what you're doing.
Absolutely. So you had mentioned in my introduction that I came from the corporate world. Just about all of my adult life has been spent in a marketing capacity in the corporate arena, usually making other big companies really rich, and got to the point where I knew that I wanted to go out on my own and wasn't really, that whole thing for anybody who's out there who has left that kind of a setting and had to take that leap of faith to go out on your own. It's pretty scary. And so when I finally got the courage to say, okay, enough is enough, it's time for me to see if I really have the chops to make it on my own. Can I really do this? Am I smart as I think I am, right? So when I went to make that decision, I was trying to figure out what my niche was going to be. So knowing that I had to do that as a marketer, right? You know that you live and die by what your niche is in order to attract people. I was trying to figure out what the best space for me was going to be. And around about that time, we had a family member that came down with just a really debilitating case of clinical depression. And we didn't know how to deal with it. We didn't know how to handle it. I mean, we couldn't understand why they couldn't just cheer up, right? I mean, you're depressed, just cheer up. We didn't get it. And so it was through that experience that I became exposed to the mental health community and absolutely fell in love. Not only were these people just incredibly kind and compassionate to our family member, but they were really warm and friendly and supportive and helpful to us because, like I said, we didn't know how to deal with it. So I just kind of had this divine intervention sort of moment. And I thought, wow, I wonder if this could be it. Is this where I should be spending my time? So like any good marketer, I did my research and looked into the industry to find out where the strengths and weaknesses were, and was really surprised to find that the mental health community, for as wonderful and caring and compassionate as these folks are, and as much education as they have to have just to be able to help people, they were getting very, very little in the way of marketing to learn how to go out on their own and to create a practice and to build a business. And that is how I decided that was a niche I was going to follow. I wanted to help private practice owners to grow their practice through marketing efforts. Wow.
Yeah. And you're right. It is such a needed thing. That's, the number one question that I get. I have a survey that I do every now and then, just finding out from people, kind of my audience, of what their needs are. And the number one thing that I always hear on there is how to get more clients. And that's a big, important thing. And, obviously so. If you're not getting clients, you're not going to be in business or in practice very long.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's the heart of what drives everything, right? It's what gives you your financial freedom. It's what, makes your heart sing. It's just everything is connected to it. So, yeah.
So one of the things I know you and I were talking about, Lisa, was, and I think this is a big concern, just kind of jumping into this whole marketing realm, is particularly for therapists. Like you said, most of us are pretty kind and compassionate, and we don't like to be pushy in any sort of way, and come across as you. I love the way you put it, and I think it's right on. Is not to come across as sleazy with our marketing and how we ask for clients and get clients without really sounding like a used car salesman.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, the thought of that, doesn't it just conjure up images of just making you feel dirty, like you need a shower and you need to scrape all of that off? I know it does me.
Right.
It does
me as well.
Because really, Gordon, if you stop and think about it, who hasn't been at one of those marketing events where somebody shoves their business card in your face and then they're giving you their 30-second elevator pitch, which then turns into like 15 minutes, right? And as you're sitting there listening to that person, you're looking over their shoulder, trying to map out the nearest exit strategy.
Yeah.
Where's the nearest exit? Because you just think, oh my Lord, get me out of here. It's awful.
Yeah.
So,
not to mention robocalls.
There you go. Yeah. It's the face-to-face equivalent of a robocall, isn't it?
Yes, it sure is. So what are your what have you learned about that in working with other therapists and working with therapists and counselors about that whole strategy about not coming across as sleazy?
For sure. Yeah. Because I share those feelings as well. I mean, and you wouldn't think that as a marketer. You would think, that I would be just as guilty as the rest of them, as the kind of person that would shove the business card in the face and everything we just talked about, but I'm not. So I was talking to a few years ago, I don't know, I want to say maybe 4 years ago, I was talking to a business coach about this whole conversation and the fact that even though building your business or building your practice means having to have those kind of conversations with people, that you cringe at the thought of it. And this business coach gave me a completely different perspective that has totally changed the way I embrace this.
Okay.
And what I learned was that when we think about that, Gordon, we tend to think about ourselves in that scenario, don't we? We think this feels icky, or I have to get another client. I have to collect X number of business cards. I have to give out X number of business cards. We're thinking about our own role in that scenario. And when I was talking to this business coach, he said, what we need to do is we need to flip that mindset around and focus our attention on the other person. And he said, if you go into it instead thinking about what can I do for this other person? Who do I know that I could introduce them to? What resources do I have that I can share with them? What are some of their pain points so that I can kind of like go into my bag of tricks or my arsenal of tools or what have you that I can offer to them so that when I walk away from this conversation, I can leave them better off than I met them.
Right.
And while that sounds kind of hallmark schmaltzy, however you want to put it, it really is true. And when I started to adapt that, it kind of became a game for me. I started to think, okay, well, I'm going to be with this person for, I don't know, a half an hour. Pick the amount because you can do it in just about any amount of time.
Right.
What is it that I can find out, like I'm a super sleuth detective? What is it that I can find out about this person that will allow me to help them in some kind of way without expecting anything in return. So there's no sales pitch on my end.
Right.
All I want to do is help them. And when you do that, when you give to people without expecting anything in return, it takes all of the pressure off of you.
Right.
So you no longer walk into it feeling stressed and feeling like you have to listen to a bunch of sales pitches or you have to be the person that gives the sales pitch. All you're trying to do is figure out how you can impact somebody. You know, whether that be through your network, through your tools, what have you. Yeah. And when I adopted that mindset, things really began to shift and I no longer felt stressed about having those kind of conversations. So then I started to think, okay, so when you think about practitioners looking for referrals to grow their practice, and we can utilize, for the case of this discussion, we can utilize MDs. Although that should not be your only source of referrals because referrals can be everywhere. They can be schools, they can be lawyers, they can be associations, you name it. When you think about approaching an MD, go into it with a mindset that they have already been approached by everybody and their brother, right? They get that all day long, so much so that they usually have an office manager or a nurse or an assistant field those kind of things for them. So what is it that you can do that will make you stand apart and make a difference to get your foot in the door, right? So thinking in terms of that, go back to the mindset that we were talking about before. What is it that I can do that will make a difference for them that's going to make their life easier so that I stand out a little bit more? Right. And I just want to give you an example. A few months ago, I went in to my MD for my physical, and they run the whole gamut just like they always do and ask you a bunch of questions and you go through, all of the lab tests. So then the doctor walks in and he starts asking a bunch of mental health type questions. And I thought, well, this is new. That usually doesn't happen at the MD's office. Yeah. And then he got called out of the room for something and he hands me the sheet, Gordon, and he says, I'll tell you what, I want you to fill this out. And it was it was asking about depression and anxiety and seasonal disorder or whatever. And as I'm filling this questionnaire out, Gordon, I look down at the bottom of the page and there's a local therapist's business card photocopied to the bottom of this test. And I thought, my God, is that brilliant marketing or what? That brilliant therapist found a way of supporting the doctor by giving this little test of, X number of signs or this test that you can take to know whether or not somebody needs mental health. So who do you think that doctor is going to refer patients to?
Well, right. It's kind of a no-brainer.
And that can apply to whatever your specialty. I mean, whether it's ADHD, whether it's bipolar, whether it's children, whether it's suicide, it can apply to just about anything. So this therapist was smart enough to figure out a way to be supportive to that doctor and to get referrals at the same time. Right. And anybody can do that, Gordon. Anybody can.
Right. What you're speaking to, and this is, a lot of my listeners have heard this theme before. But really, marketing your practice is no different than what we do day in and day out in terms of building a relationship with a client, and that we take an interest in them and the problems that they're having. And that's the number one most important clinical thing that we do with clients is that joining and that aligning with them through our relationship with them. By far, when you look at all the research about what is effective therapy, what is not, the number one thing, common denominator across all treatment modes, treatment models, whatever, is the therapist's ability to develop a relationship with that client. And so I love that, just about, taking an interest in what you can do to help the problems that your potential referrers are running into. And I don't want to take not to take too much from what you're saying, but kind of another little idea. I love that about sending like depression tests, depression questionnaires, and that sort of thing with your branding on it. One of the things that I've done that's been very successful is kind of in a reverse. I've done a coordination of care form with a doctor, with doctors. So when a client comes in and, I know that they're maybe they're on some depression medications or some sort of medications for what they're going through, I get a release so that I can talk to their doctor and then send just a little form in to the doctor saying, "Hey, I'm seeing your patient. This is what they tell me they're taking. This is what I'm treating them for, and here's a flyer with my information. And we are taking new patients." And so that's just been a gold mine in many ways.
And Gordon, I want to add to that. One of the reasons why that's such a goldmine for you is because you've developed a system that is meant to make the life of the physician easier.
Yes.
Right? So it takes the pressure off of you and it puts it on helping the other person. And that works whether it's a doctor or not. It works if you're getting referrals from an attorney. And it works if you're getting referrals from a school. I mean, it can work in just about every scenario. So the moral of the story is, in order to not feel sleazy about asking for that referral, do something that will benefit the other person.
Right.
And it completely takes that away. It just dissolves away. And then all of a sudden, they're your biggest fan. Then they're giving you referrals for life. And it all goes back to exactly what you said, Gordon. It's all about building that relationship, which is one of the things that the mental health community has the best marketers in it, and y'all don't even realize it. You are built and structured and educated to be brilliant marketers for that very reason. You build relationships first.
Yes. Yeah, I love that. And yeah, you're right. It takes all the pressure off when all you're doing is just getting curious about other people and what their needs are. And it's just that simple. So this is a good maybe segue into the other thing we wanted to talk about is the importance of collaboration and just being able to develop those relationships in the community. And just, so give us your spin on that, Lisa.
Absolutely. So I want to propose an idea that may leave some of your listeners initially scratching their head and rejecting the idea, but bear with me and hear me out. There's a great opportunity for all of you to network, collaborate, and partner with what you would normally consider your competition.
Yes.
And it's an opportunity, it's a marketing opportunity that a lot of folks miss because, again, we want to go back to mindset. It's all about the mindset at the end of the day. So we just talked about asking for referrals feels sleazy, and it's because of that mindset. So the same is true when you think about collaborating or partnering with what you would normally consider this competition. That comes from the mindset of scarcity.
Yes.
When at the end of the day, that simply is not true. There is more than enough business to go around for all of us. As many therapists as there are in your community, there are just as many, if not more, people that need your help. And all you have to do is turn on the news to realize that that's true.
Right.
There are people all around that need your help. So when you meet another therapist, there is always the opportunity to collaborate, even if you're a therapist in the same community and there are areas where you feel like it's just the same. That may be true. For the sake of argument, let's assume that true. There's also opportunity where it's not the same. That there are areas where you're different enough, whether it's your modality that's different, whether there are additional specialties or niches that you cover, different groups that you cover. There are ways enough that you are different and can complement each other that will make a great collaboration and partnership for you. So now that said, when we think about the term partnership, I don't mean somebody that you go into practice with, although that could certainly end up being the case if you want it to be. I'm talking about partnership in the forms of opportunities for you to partner together to collaborate and market your respective practices.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you partner with another person, there's a couple things that obviously you want to look out for. You want to look out for somebody who has that scarcity mindset, because they're not going to be a good partner. All they really want to do at the end of the day is to figure out how they can market their own practice. And sadly, they're not as concerned enough about yours. So you want to partner with somebody who has a genuine interest in helping you to grow your practice.
Right.
You want somebody who is not interested in shoving their business card in your face and giving you the 30-second sleazy salesman elevator pitch.
Right.
And you want somebody, and this is the big one, you want somebody who is interested in a long-term relationship with you.
Yes.
So somebody who is going to stand the test of time, because ultimately these are the people who are going to be referral partners for life.
Yes.
They are so excited and care so much about you as a person that they will actively be looking for people that they can send in your direction.
Yes.
And then last but not least, given the fact that we're talking about collaborations and partnerships, you really want to partner with somebody who is not going to be afraid to roll up their sleeves on whatever the project is that you're working on and work right alongside you.
Right.
Because there, unfortunately, are folks out there who will give a lot of lip service to the fact that they want to partner with you and then expect you to do all the work and absorb all of the costs associated with it.
Right.
So those are things that you want to look for when you're looking for somebody to partner with. So again, given the fact that therapists are such great relationship development type people, there are opportunities out there everywhere for that as you're talking to people, whether you're hanging out on social media and talking to people, whether it's at networking events, Chamber of Commerce events, I mean, you name it. You can always be looking for those opportunities to partner with people.
Yes. And absolutely, I can attest to exactly what you're talking about. One of my good friends here in town, we have two separate practices. We're very similar in the way that we do business and the way that we do things. And I'm talking about my friend Sybil Smith, and she has Journey for the Healing Arts, I think is the name of. Sorry, Sybil, I should know this better. Sybil's really just the next town over. We're in the Tri-Cities area, and I'm in Kingsport. She's in Johnson City. But we are constantly referring to each other. And Sybil and I get together regularly for coffee just to talk about our practices and how we do it and how we're structured. And it's just, there are more than enough clients for all of us out there. There are more than enough people. And I love this. I love what you're talking about, Lisa, getting away from this scarcity mentality and really more of one of abundance. And in fact, in my mission and values for my own practice, I put in there's no room for competition. We always.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah. And it's just, I love that. And just hearing it from somebody that's a marketer, that is spot on. I love that.
Absolutely. Well, like I said, all you have to do is turn on the news to realize that, it's a troubled world that we live in. And there are so many people that need mental health support.
Right.
So adapting a scarcity mindset is going to prohibit your ability to grow your practice, not help. It will have the opposite impact.
Yes, absolutely.
Because what happens, really, if you picture an animal that has gotten a piece of meat and they're hunched over and they're hoarding that little piece of meat and they're growling at anybody who gets even close, that's not growth. Right. That's just survival. And at the end of the day, don't you want more for your practice than just survival?
Right. Yeah. It's it's just, and so I tell people, you and I are on the same page. I tell people all the time, this idea of other therapists in your community being your competition is a myth. It's an absolute myth. Yeah.
And really, think about the expanse of all of that, right? Mm-hmm. So if you partner, and let's assume, just for the sake of argument, that you're wanting to create a workshop and maybe you want to partner with another therapist on creating this workshop. Mm-hmm. The opportunity there, you have just grown the size of your follower base, right? Because you're joining efforts. The exposure that you get out in the marketplace, all of it is just huge. You've opened up so many more doors for yourself. Right.
And then, the other thing too is that because we're all different as human beings, we all have different personalities. Somebody that might resonate with me as a therapist, but there might be somebody that would resonate, for example, with my friend Sybil, but wouldn't resonate as well with me, and vice versa. And I think, it's so important for our clients, and you're going to do better therapy anyway if you get your ideal client and really stick to your niche. We call it niche here in the South rather than niche, sticking to that and really finding your ideal client and the people that you resonate with, you're going to do much better work therapeutically and clinically and all of that. We get to have all the flavors.
That's right. That's right. And don't you do your absolute best work when you're doing things that you're most passionate about? So if you're working with your ideal client on a subject that's near and dear to your heart and you're really passionate about it, you're giving the very best version of yourself. And then that's win-win for the client. They walk away telling anybody who will listen to them what a great experience that they just had.
Right. Best advertising in the world. So Lisa, I want to be cognizant of your time and everything. What would be maybe some parting thoughts and maybe some other things that you've learned about marketing, and particularly from the standpoint of helping therapists market their practices and getting the word out there?
Absolutely. The one piece of walk-away advice that I would give to your listeners is be consistent with your marketing efforts. Mm-hmm. If you are inconsistent with your delivery, then the results that you get will be inconsistent as well. And we can use let's use social media as an example, but it applies to whatever kind of marketing you're engaged in. Mm-hmm. I will from time to time hear from practitioners who say, well, I tried social media, but it doesn't work. And then I'll go and I'll look at their social media efforts, and then they'll post once, and then they'll wait 2 or 3 weeks, and then they'll post something again. And it doesn't work that way. It just simply does not work. The idea behind marketing is that you appear to be everywhere all the time. And you and I both know that that's not true. You don't have to be everywhere all the time. But perception is reality. If you're giving the perception that you're everywhere all the time, then that means that your marketing strategies are consistent. You're doing it every day. And there are a lot of tips and tools and things like that that you can utilize so that you don't feel like you're chained to your computer. Because let's face it, you have a practice to run, right?
Right.
But the bottom line is if you're consistent with your marketing over time, it will yield great results for you.
Right. Right. Yeah, but that's been my own experience as well. It's just that, as my listeners hear from me all the time, be consistent and persistent with what you do.
Consistent and persistent. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, Lisa, thank you so much for being with me today. I know that I can see in my little crystal ball we're going to be doing more collaborating here in the future. But
you're stuck with me now, Gordon. You couldn't shake me if you wanted to.
Yeah, I know it. So, tell folks how they can get in touch with you and your website and all of that good stuff.
Absolutely. So if you want to email me, I am at Lisa at wozmarketing.com. My website is wozmarketing.com, WOZ marketing.com. And then, of course, if you want to do a little bit of research on the marketing for your practice, you can check out my YouTube channel, which is Woz Marketing. Yes,
it's a good one.
Thank you.
And be sure and subscribe. If you're a YouTuber, be sure and subscribe to her channel. It's a great one.
Absolutely. Thanks, Gordon.
Yeah. So, well, Lisa, thanks again for being here and being on the podcast. And again, I'm sure we're going to be talking some more here in the future.
I'm looking forward to it, Gordon. Thanks so much for having me. It's been a real treasure.
Yes. Thanks for being here. Yeah, that's my mantra. Be persistent and consistent. Yeah, and you hear that from me a lot. And I think that's really kind of the thing that I learned from Lisa, and I know that I've kind of learned in doing this for a while, is just be consistent with what you do. Keep going back and keep getting your name out there. I think that whole adage of build it and they will come, we know is just kind of a myth. You've got to build it and then tell people about it. And then they will come. And the other thing too, and my friend Allison Perrier talks about this, and that marketing is really about making sure that people can find you. I think a lot of times we are so afraid to come across as too salesy, as I think we talked about in the podcast. And, really it's just a matter of just making sure that people know who you are and know that you're there. And that's the bottom line. And the other thing about marketing, and again, just kind of repeating myself, is that just do what you do best, and that is connect with people. That's what we do as therapists. We connect with people, we join with people, we engage people, and that is marketing in a nutshell. People just want to get to know you, and that's all it is. So thanks again to Lisa for being on the podcast. I'm so glad she was able to join me. And like I said, we're going to be planning some other stuff in the future, some collaborating things. Do check out the Money Matters course while it's in this pre-launch. Go to practiceoftherapy.com/finance course. And also check out our sponsor for today, Practice Solutions. And you can get to them by going to practicesol.com/Gordon. And let them know that you heard about them on the podcast. They would appreciate that, and I would appreciate that. And if you haven't subscribed to the podcast, do take time to do that wherever you might be listening to it, whatever platform you might listen to the podcast on, whether it be on iTunes or Google Play or Stitcher or Spotify or iHeartRadio. Those are the ones that we're on for now, and probably going to be a whole lot more. I know that I think we might be on Amazon now too. Haven't checked lately, but that might be Amazon Music and their podcasts. So that's pretty exciting too as well. So take care, folks. I hope that you have a good rest of your week or weekend whenever you're listening to this. And tune in again. Love to have you with here. I love having you with me on this journey, and I appreciate so much letting me into your ears, into your life, and joining me on this journey. Take care, folks. You have been listening to the Practice of Therapy podcast with Gordon Brewer. Please visit us at practiceoftherapy.com for more information, resources, and tools to help you in starting, building, and growing your private practice. And if you haven't done so already, please sign up to receive the free Private Practice Startup Guide at practiceoftherapy.com. The information in this podcast is intended to be accurate and authoritative concerning the subject matter covered. It is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, or producers are rendering legal, accounting, or clinical advice. If you need a professional, you should find the right person for that.